morning, class.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing today?
Good.
So today I have a lot of stuff planned for us, but who remembers the grammar pretest that we took earlier last week? Y'all remember that?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Y'all did a really great job with that, but I noticed that one part that you guys were struggling with was the subject and verb agreement. So we're going to have a little mini lesson to start off with subject and verb agreement. And everyone has their subject and verb agreement worksheet, right? Alright, if I could get Lexi to go ahead and read that first instructional part for me.
Subject and verb agreement means matching the correct form of the subject with the correct form of the verb. Singular subjects go with the singular form of the verb. Plural subjects go with the plural form of the verb. If you say the sentence out loud, you may be able to tell if the subject and verb match.
So, singular subjects have to have singular verbs. Plural subjects have to have?
Plural verbs.
Yes, and a really good trick for this is to say it out loud to yourself when you're trying to figure it out. And it might sound correct if it's right, and then it'll sound incorrect to you if it's unright. So who's going to read that first example for me? Yes, sir. Arizona.
The puppies are cute.
Let me go ahead and read that explanation also.
The puppies is plural. It would sound funny to use the singular verb form is the puppies is cute.
Yeah. The puppies is cute. Does that sound right at all?
No.
No. So, because there's multiple puppies, plural, we're going to use are there. Who would like to read that second example for me? Yes, ma'am, Braden.
Since the boy walked home from school. Since boy is singular, it would sound funny to use the plural verb walk, not correct. The boy walked home from school.
Perfect. So, you guys see how that kind of sounds funny when you use a singular subject, but don't use the same verb tense. The boy walked home from school. See, it sounds odd when you say it out loud. So, basically, in this one, we're just going to go through, and it's going to give you a subject. It's either going to be plural or singular, and it's going to have you select which verb goes in there. So, if everyone can just go ahead and work on that, it's going to take about 2 minutes, then we're going to come back together and review it so we can see how you guys did immediately. Yes, ma'am.
Do you want to write the whole thing or just that one?
You can just go ahead and write the verb. Yeah, just go ahead and write the verb. If anyone has any questions or anything, just let me know. I'm going to start counting down. You got 2 minutes, guys. If you're having any trouble, remember, just say it kind of out loud to yourself or in your head and see if it sounds right when you speak it out. Got about 30 seconds left, guys, so start wrapping up. All right, if everyone could just finish up the last question that they're on and give me your attention up front, please. Thank you guys. So, pretty easy when you really break it down and look at it, right? So let's go over it. Number one. Who would like to do number one for me? Yes, India.
He sings.
He sings. Yes, ma'am. Not he sing. So, number 2. Yes, ma'am.
They talk.
They talk. Yes, ma'am. Number 3. Lexi?
My mom said,
My mom sits. We have a singular subject, so we have to use sits, so it matches. Number 4, Arizona.
Uncle Bob eats.
Uncle Bob eats. Yes, sir. Number 5, Miss Patterson. Perry, I'm sorry, Miss Perry.
we play.
We play. Yes, ma'am. Number 6,
You write.
you write. Yes, sir. Number 7, Brandon.
They clean.
They clean. That is correct. Number 8, Talon.
Jessica walks.
Jessica walks. Jessica is what? Is it singular or plural?
Singular.
Singular, so we have to use walks instead of walk. Because it just doesn't sound right. Jessica walk. Jessica walks. Number 9. Yes, ma'am.
The cat's nap.
The cat's naps. The cat's nap. Yes, ma'am. We got cats is plural, so we gotta use nap. Number 10. Yes, ma'am.
We watch.
We watch. Yes, ma'am. Number 11. Yes, ma'am. Logan.
The boy sees.
The boy. Well, is it the boy or the boys? Look really closely at it.
Oh.
So it's the boys, so it's going to be a plural subject. Which one do we use there? You can say it out loud to yourself to make sure.
That's what I misread it, it's in the boys.
Yeah. So the boys, which one would you pick? C's or C?
I didn't see the S on it, so I put C.
All right. But with it, if you see the S on it, which one should it be? Yes, ma'am. It's going to be C. Number 12. Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I was confused on this one because it could be Sarah Red or Sarah Reeves. So either one. Sarah Reeves.
It's going to be like Sarah reads the sign.
Okay, well, yeah, that's what I thought.
Yes, ma'am. Just, that is true. It could depend on what follows it. But for the sake of this, it's just going to be, it's a singular subject, so it's going to be the singular version of the verb. Who would like to do number 13 for me? Yes, sir. Mr. Cobb.
Jimmy Pink.
Jimmy paints. Yes, sir. Number 14. Adeline.
The dog bark.
The dog barks. Yes, ma'am. Number 15. Yes, sir, Isaac.
My friend visits.
My friend visits. Yes, sir. And number 16. Anybody else?
She draws.
She draws. Number 17. Come on.
It works.
It works. Number 18. Brayden.
The car runs.
Yes, ma'am. And number 19. Cynthia?
You jump.
You jump. Yes, ma'am. And number 20. Adeline?
I travel.
I travel. Perfect. You guys did really good with that. I think if you did get one wrong, it was probably because you just didn't see the S at the end or something. Little simple mistakes like that. So if everyone can flip over to the back now. This is the same type of worksheet. And I just want you guys to go ahead and complete that too. We're going to come back in and I'm going to call on you guys at random this time to see and make sure that everyone has it. So go ahead and take about 2 to 3 minutes starting now and work on that. Just raise your hand if you have any questions or need any help with anything. I'm going to be coming around and passing out a handout. If you could just leave it face down on your desk until I instruct you to pull it up, I would really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Yes, ma'am, Miss Baker. Yeah, go ahead and do that paragraph at the bottom also. to give you guys about another minute, and we're going to come back together and go over this last part. You all done? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, everybody about done? All right, perfect. So, who would like to read and answer number 1 for me? Actually, I'm going to call on you guys at random. Jack, do you mind going ahead and reading number 1 for me and answering it?
Jimmy owns a laptop computer.
Say just a little bit louder for me, sir.
Jimmy owns a laptop computer.
Jimmy owns a laptop computer. Yes, sir, that is correct. Number 2.
Mr. Giddens, will you send William Wood to the office?
He's not even here.
He's not in this class right now, ma'am. He didn't show up for school today.
Okay, thank you.
No
Mr.
problem.
Walker. William Wood, report to the office. William Wood, report to the office.
Lexi, go ahead and do number 2 for me, please. I'm sorry, say that one more time for me, ma'am. He loves how convenient it is. Yes, ma'am. Who would like to do the next one? Shelby. Yes, ma'am. Let's go with Logan on the next one.
His sister studies the multiplication class.
Jordan, will you do the next one for us? All right. Kayla, will you do the next one? Could you say that a little louder for me, please, ma'am? Yes, she saves. All right. Talon, will you do the next one for me? Perfect. All right. Brandon Jenkins, will you do the next one? It's number 8. Arizona, will you do number 9 for me, sir?
I want to learn how to program.
Perfect. Number 10, we're going to go with David.
My parents think being a doctor would be good.
Perfect. My parents think, not thinks. So, this last paragraph, who thinks they can do every single one in that paragraph completely right? I'm going to give Mr. Cobb a shot right now. See if he can impress me today. Go ahead, Mr. Cobb.
Timmy just knows that he is going to beat Jimmy. However, I disagree. Oh, wait, at the top.
At the bottom. Just that little bottom part right there. Yes, sir.
Oh, that's
Yeah, I want to see if you can go through the entire thing.
all right. I bought a new computer game yesterday. It seemed very easy, but I bet the game gets harder. Timmy and Jim, my computer buddy, want to come over and play it this afternoon. My mom says that they have to ask their mother first. Their mom thinks it is okay that she is bringing them up tomorrow. I hope they get listen. Timmy doesn't know that he is going to beat them. However, I disagree with him. Everybody knows that I can play with this.
Perfect. That was a great job, Mr. Cobb. All right, guys, you can go ahead and put that grammar warm-up in your folder. And we're going to be doing some grammar warm-ups like that pretty regularly until the Georgia milestones. If everyone could put away that worksheet and pull out the worksheet I put on your desk while you were working, get that out. Yes, ma'am. You didn't get one? Let me grab you one. I'm sorry. Does anyone else need one of these worksheets right here? You need one, Brandon?
I have a question.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Can I throw this away?
Yes, ma'am. You need that. Who needed this? All right, guys. So, who can remember what we began talking about and reviewing last Friday and Thursday? Yes, ma'am? Race. Yes, ma'am. We were going over constructive response questions and using the race strategy to answer them. So, in the race strategy, what does the R stand for? Yes, ma'am, Brayden.
Restate.
Restate. And what are you restating?
The question.
The question. Yes, ma'am. All right. And what does the A stand for, Lexi? Answer. And you're answering the question. C, Abilene? Cite. What are you citing?
Your evidence.
Your evidence from the text. Yes, ma'am. And E, explain. And what are you explaining there? Your answers. Yes, ma'am. So if we follow the race strategy, we get a pretty good constructive response question, right? And if someone could go ahead and read the first standard for me up there. Go ahead.
You want me to read the letters?
No, ma'am, you don't have to read the letters. Just go ahead and read the text.
Okay. Cite textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text.
Perfect. And who would like to read that second one? Go ahead, Brayden.
Determine the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in a text, including figurative, connotative, and technical meanings.
Yes, ma'am. And Mr. Isaac, if you will go ahead and read that third standard for me.
Describe how a particular story's or drama plot unfolds in a series of episodes, as well as how the characters respond when a changes plot moves towards resolution.
Perfect. And Miss Lee, if you would go ahead and read real loud that last standard for us.
Determine the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in the text, including figurative and connotative meanings. Analyze the impact of a specific word choice on meaning and tone.
Yes, ma'am. So these are the standards we are covering, guys, and you can see how these go right along with the race strategy. It's talking about citing your evidence and reading the text and determining what's the words in the text from the other words. So, and who would like to read our learning target? Yes, ma'am, Tyler.
Accurate response check and constructive response question using evidence to support my answer.
Perfect. Does everyone feel pretty comfortable that they've done that before in here? We've all seen and done constructive response questions, right? Well, today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to read some...
Do you have Anna Perry?
Yes, I do.
Anna Perry, and also on, please.
She's on her way.
Thank you.
All right. So today we're going to read some articles and we're going to look at some constructive response questions. And then we're going to look at some terrible, awful examples that I came up with. And we're going to correct them and see if we can make them better and make them acceptable constructive response questions. So does everyone have that first article? It's titled, "Lead Can Be Deadly." Yeah, it took the industry decades to stop the denial. You already got it? Okay, thank you. Everybody got one? All right, who would like to read that first little 3 paragraphs there? All right, Brandon, if you can read it for me.
Residents of Flint, Michigan were outraged at an environmental regulators who incorrectly treated the city's water. It caused toxic lead from
Lead. Yes, ma'am, it's lead.
Lead from old pipes to poisoning the drinking water. The same thing had happened in Washington, D.C. more than a decade earlier. In both cities, poorly treated water corroded the kind of old lead pipes you can find across the nation. My first reaction was, why were there lead pipes in so many places to begin with? Said Richard Braden. He is an anti-lead advocate in Arlington, Massachusetts.
Perfect. So have you guys heard about any city in America that's dealing with a lead crisis right now? Which one? Do you know the name of it?
Flint, Michigan.
Yes, ma'am. So, Flint, Michigan might be the first time you've heard about lead poisoning and heard about lead poisoning people's waters, but it's actually a problem that's been reoccurring throughout history multiple times. So who would like to read that second part for me? Yes, ma'am, Logan, go ahead.
In the 20th century, Rabin and other lead critics say the lead industry ignored growing suspicions that the element was toxic. Instead, they launched a campaign to ensure that Americans kept buying lead paint for their homes, lead gas for their cars, and lead plumbing in their communities. Lead, really.
So you just go read that whole section for me.
Lead helps guard your health. A national lead company advertisement said in 1923. It was only 1 year after the League of Nations suggested banning lead indoor paint because of health concerns. Scientists now say even small amounts of lead can lower a child's IQ and stunt development. Large amounts can be deadly. As public and scientific awareness grew, lead companies fought regulations and tried to minimize reports that lead made people ill, say historians critical of the industry. They just denied that lead, whether it was paint or whether it was pipes, was making kids sick or was making the population sick in general, Rabin said. He has written about the lead industry battle to increase the use of lead pipes in the past century.
Yes, ma'am. Who would like to read that next section for me? Talon, go ahead.
In recent years, lead and paint producing companies have said they were just following the law of the era. The companies noted that they stopped producing lead paints years before the government banned them in the 1970s. A century ago, lead companies pushed lead products to consumers as a healthy option. At the same time, reports of lead poisoning circulated in the news. Companies like National Lead had already taken steps to limit lead poisoning among its own workers. Lead concealed in the walls and under the floors of many modern buildings helped to give the best sanitation. The company's 1923 ad in National Geographic magazine said, lead therefore is contributing to the health, comfort, and convenience of people today as it did when Rome was a center of civilization.
So we can see here that the lead companies not only know about the dangers that their products have, but they're blatantly lying about it. They're blatantly trying to convince people that the product is safe and safe to use. So who would like to read that next section for me? Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
The warnings about lead poisoning, however, are also as old as Roman civilization. The Roman architect
Vitruvius, yes, ma'am.
thought earthenware pipes would be healthier for drinking water than lead pipes. He noted the unhealthy paleness of lead workers. In the 19th century, more scientists were starting to catch on to lead. However, lead was both tough and malleable.
Malleable, yes, ma'am. That's like cancer's causing.
And
Malleable.
indoor plumbing was necessary to combat immediate health threats like
Typhoid
and
chlorea.
cholera.
Those are
Cities
diseases
put-
associated with like people's waste. So they need plumbing so they can get rid of those. Go ahead.
So cities put in lead plumbing. By 1900, 40 of America's 50 largest cities had lead pipes, and large cities like Chicago mandated their use in building codes, said Warner Rowiskin. He is a professor and the author of The Great Lead Water Pipe Disaster. Cities now treat drinking water with materials that coat the inside of the pipes and prevent lead from leaching out. The problem has happened in Flint. When improperly treated, water corrodes the insides of those pipes.
Perfect. If you would like to read that next section? Go ahead, Bonnie.
It's simply the lead pipes were already a big problem to the land. According to his research, in a place where corrosive water was more likely to leak lead out of the pipe. Residents grew up to have lower income, fewer educational achievements, and were less likely to own homes. Nobody could see that in 1900s. No one understood what was happening there. Concerns were growing, however. Through the 1910s and 1920s, American research began to build evidence that the lead polluted and poisoned children. In 1929, the Lead Association was a new application to represent a dozen lead companies. At the time, it was a war for growing concern. The association fought and protect this business.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And Brandon, if you will leave that second to last one.
In addition to promoting the use of lead, the association threatened lawsuits against its opponents and gave grants to groups that supported its point of view, said David Rosen, the professor at Columbia University. Gained access to lead industries association documents as part of a New York City lawsuit against the industry. They did everything that becomes known as the signature of the tobacco industry, said Roseman, who has helped anti-lead lawsuits and co-wrote the 2013 book Lead Wars. Raven, the Massachusetts advocate, scoured Lead Industries Association documents that showed how the group sought to influence building codes. It must be remembered the adoption of laws is slow work, but once adopted make a relatively permanent requirement of lead. The association's secretary reported to the group in 1938. According to an article by Raven in the American Journal of Public Health.
I'm going to read this last section just to hurry us along. In 1946, a Lead Industry Association leader said that if attacks of the lead safety were not challenged, they may very easily lead to the sponsoring of totally unwarranted state and federal legislation of regulatory or prohibitive nature. This is just what happens after scientists began in the 1970s to demonstrate the extent of lead's danger to children. The federal government banned lead paint in 1978 and lead pipes in 1986. By 2002, the Lead Association, reportedly lacking enough insurance to continue facing years of lawsuits, filed for bankruptcy. So it took the government almost hundreds of years to ban that after the reports came out that it was safe. Yes, ma'am?
There's words up there on the
Yeah, there's on the back.
Another one? Okay. Looking at their internal documents and their minutes and meetings and discussions of lead poisoning, for the very first year onward, it's kind of sickening, Rossmer said. They see what should be identified as a major health crisis early on. They could have prevented decades of children being poisoned, and they saw it as a public relations problem. So they knew about these dangers, they knew about these terrible things that their product was causing, and they decided to go ahead and tell everyone it was safe and keep selling them. So, we're going to look at some constructive response questions over this. Yes, ma'am?
I actually heard about this on the news that there is, I forgot what state it was, but there's a state now that's like,
Flint, Michigan?
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. That's a very similar thing happened there. Now their water is poisoned with lead to the point where they can't drink it or bathe with it or anything. Who will read that first constructive response question for me? Yes, ma'am, Lexi.
What do scientists know about the dangers of lead poisoning, and how long have these dangers been known?
So pretty simple. we're going to go over the dangers that the text highlights, and then how long these dangers have been known for. And this is a terrible example of a constructive response question. Who would like to read that one for me? Arizona, yes sir. And it's also on your paper there, yeah.
Lead poisoning is very bad. It can hurt people. Lead is very dangerous because it can poison people. It can make them sick, hurt them, and even kill them. Scientists have known about the dangers of lead poisoning for a long time.
Perfect. So this first one I'm going to go through and I'm going to break it down with you guys. If we're using the race strategy to respond to that question, do you see him restating the question in the first sentence? Does he really restate? Does he really tell you what's going on about the question? No, he jumps right into it. He said, lead poisoning is very bad. He doesn't introduce the topic. He doesn't give us any information about it. So, does he answer the question? He does answer the question, but is it very specific?
No.
No, he said lead is very dangerous and it can poison people, can make them sick and can hurt them. But he's not really giving us real evidence to support that answer. So C, do we see any citations of evidence in there? Does he really reference anything in the text so much? No, he doesn't. And then E, of course, explain. He really doesn't explain or support any of his assumptions or anything. And if you don't support your analysis or claims with evidence, then what? Yeah, it's no good. It's not valid. Perfect. So you guys can see the problems with this first constructive response question, right? All right, perfect. All right, who would like to read that second one for me?
I'm not answering it.
We're just going to go through and correct them. We're going to correct them and say things. So I'm about to let y'all go on the next one and work in groups or with the partner next to you. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and read that second one for me.
What do scientists know about the danger of lead?
No, the second one down there. What lies?
What lies did lead company use to get customers to keep using their product? And what has been done to
Stop these
the
companies. Yes, ma'am. So, here is the terrible bad example. For that one, I'm going to let you guys go. Don't get out of your desk, but work with someone around near you. And I want you to come up with some corrections, things that you could change and make do better. You could find some evidence that you could support his claims and what he's trying to say and put it down there. But just take about 4 or 5 minutes, and I want you guys to come up with as many corrections and many things you can do to help this and write it in the lines under the bad example of the constructive response. Yes, sir, Jack. Yes, you can. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am? Go ahead. Could you just wait till she comes back, please, ma'am? Thank you. Yeah, no problem. So, go ahead, communicate, talk with one of your partners around you, and figure out as many. You need a Kleenex, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. You can walk with Isaac over there if you want to move over to Isaac, or he's back with Leah. Let me see everybody working. Let me see. I want to hear you talking about the article. Yes, sir. You need one? Oh, yes, sir. You need a paper towel? No problem. Here's that for you. I'm sorry. And just write your corrections down in the lines under it, please. Now I'm going to come through with another article passed out. But we are not going to read this one out loud today. You guys are going to read this one. It's a little bit shorter. You can move a little bit faster. Yes, ma'am.
So do you want us to like rewrite this?
No, do not rewrite it. Just say things you correct, things that they could do better. Or you can show how they could restate the question, but you don't have to rewrite the whole thing.
Could you take, like, the motion together, and add stuff?
Yeah, you could add evidence and explain it and stuff. That would help them. Perfect. That's a great idea.
Would it be like good to like use the ones where it was added in the passages?
Yeah, you
Like
can.
to be specific about
Yes,
it.
ma'am. Yeah, second, right? Yeah, we're working on it. Yeah, you work by yourself, you can do whatever you prefer. We're gonna spend about another 3 minutes correcting that, and we're gonna come back, we're gonna talk about it.
How are you like supposed to write? Are supposed to write it in sentences or just like?
Don't even worry about putting the sentences, just try to get it out there. Just statements. What did you do?
Huh?
What did you do to correct that one? The second one, Mr. Collins?
My partner just got back.
What do you think
Second?
about it?
What's second?
I'm glad you all did have like
Ready to go?
The second that example? And then things you need to correct. So you could always go find something in the article to use as evidence, explain it. You could show them how to restate the question a little better. Yes, ma'am. The second one. We're working on the second one. Yeah, we're working on the second one, guys. This one right here. Oh, wait. I'm sorry.
Is Jackie Braden Marshall in the office?
Yes, ma'am. She's on the way.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Walker.
Oh, you're fine. Yes, sir. Don't think so. Oh, yes, we do. Second one. We are working on the second one, guys. We got about 2 minutes left on it. Don't be afraid to collaborate with a partner or someone close to you. Talk about different things that you can use. Need some help? You don't know what you can do to make it better? Because you're just looking at it, it's a really bad example of such a response. And you're trying to think some things that you could do to make it better. Or do some evidence and stuff like that. Used to support. Do you think it doesn't do a good job restating it, like answering the question like the race strategy? You could say that. Yes, ma'am.
We don't rewrite it.
No, don't rewrite it. Just say what the corrections you would make and stuff. About 2 more minutes, guys.
What's it called when you put two sentences together?
Compound sentence?
I got a break.
So we made the first two sentences. I know.
Alright, guys. Make sure you have something written down for corrections and stuff. Check. I'm going to be taking this up later at grading tonight and stuff. Yeah, I'll have a grading spot tomorrow, I promise you that. 1 more minute, guys. Start wrapping up your corrections and getting your thoughts down on paper. Yes, ma'am. It's totally fine. Alright, guys. Finish up whatever your last correction is, your last thought, get it down on paper, and then go ahead and give me your attention back up here. So, who has some good ideas about what we could do to correct this? Yes, ma'am, Shelby.
They don't need to repeat some of it.
They don't. They're very redundant. They say the same thing over and over again. Lead is unsafe. It's harmful. It's all saying the same thing over again. Yes, ma'am. What is your correction?
For you to cite, you can say in paragraph whatever it states.
Yeah, there's multiple things that he says that he could use evidence from the text to support, but he refuses to use any evidence from the text. Any other corrections? Yes, ma'am. Exactly. Again, we don't really see them restating the question. They're just jumping right into the answering portion. Yes, ma'am, Evelyn.
They didn't give enough evidence.
Yeah. They, I mean, you could make the point that they use a little bit of evidence, but really there's almost no evidence at all in there. And any evidence that is used, he doesn't explain. Yes, ma'am, Logan?
He doesn't. He's not specific when he's talking about the people. He's not talking about where. He's just saying the people.
Yes, ma'am. Same thing with, he's talking about the dangers, he's talking about can make them sick. They gave you very specific cancers and different things that it caused in the text that you could have stated and used to help build up your response. Yes, ma'am?
It's not true when he says that the companies want to hurt people.
Perfect, yes. What, that's more of a opinion.
Or your point of view.
Yes, yes, ma'am. And he really, and your opinion's only valid in the text if it's, yeah, persuade, well, yeah, but even then you have to support it with evidence for it to be valid at all. He doesn't support it at all. Yes, ma'am. All right, any other corrections? Perfect, great job, guys. All right, if everyone else will pick up this article I passed out to you. This is a much shorter article. It's going to be on the government's proposed bans for tanning beds for people under the age of 18. It's going to highlight a bunch of the negative impacts of tanning beds and whatnot. Yes, ma'am?
I want to read.
Oh, you want to read? We're just going to read independently or with a partner because everyone's got to preach an article. And then we are going to look at this constructive response, which is what are the reasons that the government wants to stop anyone from under 18 using a tanning bed, and what are some of those views expressed in the article about the law? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that I know one reason. It can lead to skin cancer.
Yes, ma'am. And they make that point multiple times, and that's one of the main points being made in this article. So, now that we've seen this, I want everyone to go ahead and read the article as a partner or independently real quick. And then just put the article down when you're done and give me your eyes. Yes, ma'am. Can you go back to your stand? All right, but feel free to leave the popcorn read with a partner or anyone around you. Make sure you read it for me. Make sure you read it for me. Yeah? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you for your patience. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, one I can do right now. Thank you.
Anyone under the age of 18 would be barred from using indoor tanning equipment under federal proposal to help eliminate cancer.
Friday's announcement followed years.
Yeah, it's just this. It's just one sheet front and back. It's a lot shorter than the other article. The other article's a little more pointed. This one gets real right to the point. All right, we're going to come together in about another 2 minutes, guys.
and the FDA require any medical someone because they should not be used in our medicine. Under the FDA is regulated
Right here?
It's taking 10 days.
Yeah, we skipped over the first
Mr. Walker,
Yes, ma'am?
may I speak to Caleb Gray in the office?
All right, you can go right ahead.
Thank you.
Danny,
Hmm.
stop now.